Good evening. Welcome to the October 10th, 2017 Community Redevelopment Agency meeting at 5:30. At this point, we have a quorum. I'll call the meeting to order. Now, would you please join me in a moment of silence and keep in mind the people that are having tragedies all over the world in Puerto Rico and now in California. So it's not a good time for some people. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business is approval of minutes, for the minutes from September 19th, 2017, the CRA meeting. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I'd move to approve those minutes.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, like sign. Passes unanimously. We have no special recognitions and presentations. Old business. Mr. Director.
Yes, sir. At the 8 August 2017 CRA meeting, Frank Bellamo from Bellamo Herbert, a GI company, presented two conceptual plans for a civic center to be located at Sandpoint Park. There was much discussion regarding the plan, but no clear direction was provided. Further guidance is requested from the CRA board to pick one of the designs for the consultant to further refine or abandon the project. In addition to choosing the project design, staff is seeking additional information on the following issues: the presence of the amphitheater, the type of stage, ancillary amenities such as play mound, elevated seating facing the river, picnic tables, etc. Interaction with, if any, with the existing pavilion at Sandpoint Park, and other direction as desired by council. And Frank's going to give a quick presentation prior to the CRA board's discussion. Frank?
Great. Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you very much. Good to see you all again.
Your name for the record, sir? If you
Frank Bellamo, GAI Consultants.
Thank you.
Thank you. This isn't really going to be much of a presentation. There were a few things that I wanted to go over that I had in my notes and recollected from our last meeting, and I wanted to see if we all sort of concur on that. And it is basically a few of the things that it appeared that everyone agreed upon, which is a much shorter list than the things that were not necessarily agreed upon. And then the things that if they could be decided tonight, I hate to say that I'm looking for you all to select one. I'm really not looking for that. I mean, we're certainly willing to look at other alternatives depending on the direction of the conversation tonight, so keep that in mind. So correct me if I'm wrong, but a couple of the things that I thought there seemed to be a general consensus about was that in Concept 1, if you recall, we had shown a playground, and I thought the consensus was that you all preferred not to pursue a playground at the amphitheater site. The other thing that I thought you all made reasonably clear was there was no need for a very large sort of national event stage. It was more for a smaller sort of local type of an event. You did all seem to agree that the amphitheater space itself should have sort of a raised end to it like a traditional amphitheater would, and wanted us to look at the opportunity to provide a little bit more shade and maybe some more sort of garden-esque treatment as you enter from parking lot towards the amphitheater and the Civic Center. Those were a few of the major points that I recall, that I had recollected that you agreed upon. The things that it would be very helpful for us if we could get a little direction this evening is whether or not we're going to keep or remove the existing structure that's out there. And by the way, you all had asked at the last meeting the size of that. The building itself, the enclosed portion of the building, not the open pavilion, but the building is 1,800 square feet. The covered portion is about 4,000 square feet, if that helps. So again, does it stay or does it go? Is this generally the right location for the amphitheater or the Civic Center? And I say that because I think there were one or two of you that had mentioned it might benefit us all to look at the Coast Guard Auxiliary Site. And we're willing to do that if the general consensus of everyone is it'd be a worthwhile endeavor for us to do that. We can certainly do that. A general idea of in terms of the site, what size of event and what particular type of event do you think that this ought to accommodate? And should the stage be separated from the building? Right now in both concepts, it's sort of at the back door of the building. Should it be separated? That being said, it's really time for me to listen and for you all to have a conversation. So unless there are some questions, I'll take notes.
Don't go away.
I'm not going far.
My first question is, you're talking about the building. Are you talking, as I'm looking at it, the building that's on the left on this one, or it's on the right on this one?
This concept, this was where we kept the existing structure. That's the existing.
Okay, and that is not utilized over there. Is that correct?
In the other concept, it was removed. Yeah. So that's one of the decisions sort of to be made.
The second question I have is that maybe a walkway, I don't know, that protrudes over the river there?
That is an elevated boardwalk, so it sort of completes that circular pattern. But yes, the seawall ends right here now. If you all recall, we sort of did a much wider promenade walkway along the water. People seem to like to get to the water. There's a very narrow sidewalk here right now, and in fact, it's quite pinched in this location right now at the existing building. But yes, we did have an elevated boardwalk to get you out over the water.
Have you been out to the river lately?
I have not, but you know what? We also are doing Riverfront Park for you all right now, and I just got photographs today that showed that shoreline, so on the way out of here tonight, I'm going to stop and take a look at that condition as well.
I would just suggest...
I hear it's a tad high.
Well, it's not only the water. There's very few docks that are left intact.
Yeah, I heard that as well.
I happen to live on the water myself, and the boardwalk that was back there is totally
gone.
Totally gone. Yeah. So that might be a consideration in that. Because I have the feeling we may have more hurricanes at some time.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
That's all I have right now. Member Anderson?
Yes, let's clear this up right away. I don't care for that one where the center is up next to the boat area. That is just a poor use of the land. I like the one over there where we get rid of the existing structure and take it down to where we can put it someplace else. But I think that's better use. I'm not sure what we gain if we shoo the Coast Guard or whatever that is over there out. Because where that would sit with all the glass windows and everything, it would be a beautiful area with the bridge and the waterway and everything. The only thing I would like to see the playgrounds and the mound go away because we have a really nice playground further away.
Right.
And if you're having an event and you've got these playgrounds right up there, that kind of might cause some issues. I think the amphitheater needs to be bigger, and if we're doing away with the playgrounds, then we probably can do something like that, and stair step the back of it, so that we can utilize that for other things too. But the plan here, where we keep the pavilion, I just think it's a poor use for to have the Civic Center all the way to the back.
You know what might be helpful also, and I'm sure you all don't recall, but I did mention at the the first presentation, that if you were having, say, a musical event and folks were seated on the ground, you'd easily get 2,500 to 3,000 people in that space. So if you feel like the amphitheater is not, that's perfectly fine. But again, I needed to know what sort of events are you looking for. If you think there may be events that you'd like to initiate or you already have that have bigger crowds than that, then it would be appropriate to make it bigger. If that's large enough, then we would probably tend to.
I guess it's one of those things until you
have it.
You've mapped it out. Put some stakes in the ground so we can see how big it is actually going to feel. It's kind of hard to sort of picture that.
Sure.
But that said, then maybe we might need the stage to be a little bigger, so that it can accommodate a lot of varieties. So, but that's really all I have.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you. So I think that I'm of the Civic Center, actually. I'm of the opinion we raised the building over at the Coast Guard place and then dropped the Civic Center in there. And I think there's a couple reasons why. I think that building's old. I think that it's got some damage from the hurricane. That's not helping the cause. And I think for use of space, that the more that we put into the park that obstructs the view, there will be more public not amenable to this plan. In contrast, if we're swapping buildings, old building for new building, I think we can get there, and I think that the public would be a little bit more amenable to not blocking the view of the waterfront. I think that finding a home for the Coast Guard folks is a doable after effect of doing something like that. So one is it's a better use of the space that I don't think is really being used very well at this point. The amphitheater portion on Concept 1 over there, I like the round part, the raise, however we want to do that in the back. As long as there's some kind of a slope to it, I like that. The landscaping I like, so I think that it should be something that's attractive. So whatever changes, but I like the idea that there's landscaping, a garden kind of a deal going on. The covered playground, I can go either way to hill or playground. I don't want to add extended cost, I'm good with a mound, but I like the idea of proximity to wherever that circle is for the amphitheater seating. And here's why. If I go to the city of Cocoa and I go listen to a show down there, there are, let's say, 100 families plus out there. A lot of them have young kids. That young kid is going to sit there for about 20 minutes before they start wiggling. And they've got to have some place to go. And so I don't think that it needs to be a full-on playground. That would be nice. At the city of Cocoa, that's when they run over to run through the water. Yeah. But just someplace that they can go burn off energy while people are doing the show and then come back to their blanket, whatever the case may be. That part I like. So round circle, move the building, get some kind of place for kids to go in proximity to where people would sit down, be it structure, be it mound, either way. And then, were there any other questions? Oh, the existing pavilion. I'm comfortable either way. If we are to move the building to where the Coast Guard place is, then I would say hold the gazebo, and two reasons why. It's already there.
Right.
We're not obstructing any more than we already have been, and there's some historical significance to it, be it as there's a reason why it's there, and it's a reason it's named what it's named. So
and I was going to ask that question, so that's very helpful. Well,
yeah.
The plus of, I'm not crazy about the existing building, but it's certainly got some function to it. It's got a kitchen. That's a huge plus. I mean, my personal preference is Concept 1, but I can absolutely see the logic behind keeping what's there. And the other thing that's interesting, and we hadn't really contemplated the Coast Guard site, but I will tell you this. I've spent, on a personal note, a lot of time over here fishing and at Sandpoint. It's not the most attractive complex of buildings at the Coast Guard facility, particularly for a waterfront location. If you are able to relocate them elsewhere and can use this project to have multiple roles, one of which is just to clean up that portion of the waterfront, in my opinion, that's a big plus. So I would really like to see us, in addition to maybe, by the time we're done with this, coalescing into a single plan, maybe even look at the Coast Guard site as well, just to see how it lays out and see what you all think. Because I think it's a worthwhile effort.
Explain that. What do you mean, look at it for what?
Do another plan where we take the new Civic Center and put it on the Coast Guard site.
Oh, okay.
As just, I think it'd just be worthwhile to see what it would look like and how it would function, and that may be the one that you all kind of alight to. So,
Member Nelson?
I like The first plan, the one on the right. And I do like the playground area because, remember, Behringer is right. If you have small kids, they'll drive you crazy if you're trying to listen to music. And at least it gives them a way to get them out of your
Right.
hair. That being said, is there enough room where that Coast Guard station is to put a civic center?
I don't know that yet. It's one of the
Okay.
things that we'd have to take a look at, yeah, because we've not designed anything over there yet.
And the other question is, I know there's a proposal for building, I call it the Big Apple Plaza. Do we continue with this and continue with the plans, or do we wait and see what's going to happen there?
My recommendation would be to go ahead and finish this contract and figure out if we're going to have a design ready, and then see what's going to happen with that other site.
Okay. That being said, then, I would like to see if we could put it at the Coast Guard station. It'd be nice to have that place cleaned up.
Sure. Okay, agreed.
Just for informational purposes, there is another building there. Most of that is parking lot.
Yeah.
But there is another building that the county uses as their warehouse type thing, or where the workers have their equipment and so forth. So I don't know what our agreement is on that. I would hope and guess they'd be cooperative if we'd have to replace it, though, no doubt, somewhere else. I know. I'm not looking for an answer. I'm just
There are
giving you the
several small buildings out
information. I'm just giving you the information, so that's something we got to check on.
Very good.
Anyone else like to speak? Nope, it's lit up now. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't look at it.
On a little bit different page, I like the pavilion staying. I'd like it obviously renovated. I tend to agree, and I actually think Vice Mayor Behringer first got me to think of that you've got a pavilion there with a kitchen and all the accessories that go with that. You could actually run 2 events at one time, one in the pavilion and a reception over in the other area, the Civic Center. Sounds like we're way far away from knowing exactly what we want, but I would say if we are going to look at these two, I don't think we need to delete the pavilion. Again, we'd need to renovate it. We don't want to have it sitting there as an old 1980s relic. But I also think there's something iconic about it. There's something historic about it. I don't think there's probably anybody here who hasn't been to weddings or events or birthdays there, and I just think it's nice. I like the location. I also like the playground idea, not only for the parents of the kids, but for the people who are trying to enjoy a concert when the kids aren't happy anymore. I think that we don't want to overdo a playground there because there's plenty of playground close by, but just enough to get them through. Kitchen, I think that as this gets closer, if this gets closer, we will hear, there'll be a lot of people sitting out there to talk about riverfront property. And I understand that. I think we all love the riverfront property and anything we put down there, whether it's by the Coast Guard or anywhere else, there's going to be a concern that we are losing some riverfront view. I really like over here, I like the little boardwalk out into the river a little bit. I think that gives you an expanded view that we don't have now, a little closer relation to the river than we have at this moment. So it sounds like right now we're just kind of maybe thinking outside the box, thinking about different locations, thinking about what could happen at the Big Apple Shopping Center one day. But at this point, I like the keeping of the pavilion and renovating that and tying it into the Civic Center. And I probably, and I think it was noted by others, it's really hard to say until we go out there and walk it a little bit and see what the stakes say and how big it is and just how much riverfront property, our view, are we taking away. I said all along when this was proposed, I think that this could enhance the riverfront. And again, with that boardwalk, it certainly gives you a relationship with the river that we don't have now unless you walk the pier, which is nice too. So that's just some of my thoughts.
Okay. Ms. Stokel? Oh, Member Anderson.
Yeah, if we do go with the Coast Guard site, possibly we could put the amphitheater on the back end of that pavilion if we decide to keep it. It's just a thought.
Can you say that one more time? I
No,
didn't quite follow that.
That's okay. If we decide to put the center, the event center,
On the Coast
where
Guard.
the Coast Guard is,
Right.
if that all pans out, and we decide to keep the pavilion there, then possibly we could attach the amphitheater to the pavilion. Tie that
Sure.
in together. So the other part would we keep the boat ramp if we decided to do the Coast Guard thing? So a lot of big ifs.
That's a really good question. And I don't know what everyone's feeling would be, but if we do take a look at that, I'm not sure what that ramp is used for. It's not a public ramp, is it?
Yeah, it's public.
It is a public ramp.
Yeah, and what I've seen going in and out of it lately is a lot of kayaks and jet skis.
Okay. What would be the outcry if it went away? And I'm not saying it has to, because we haven't even looked at that site yet, but
Sure.
Obviously, the people who have
people who use
kayaks
it
and-
would be outraged.
Yes.
Okay.
I can predict that.
Sure.
I don't know how many of them there are, however.
Okay.
Vice Chair.
Thank you, sir. This will be my last one, and my apologies. For the pier, that is not a stickler for me, and for two reasons. One is it's going to cost more money. Two is that the maintenance on piers is not cheap, in my opinion. Three is every time we have a hurricane, we get a boat that washes up and slams into that space right there, somewhere along those rocks. And I'm guessing that that's not going to end anytime soon. And it's just I think it's too much of a liability. But I like the idea. I don't see it. If access over by the pier next to the bridge, Cracker Jacks, I'm good with folks if they want to get out there for that. And then as far as the boat access, I've always been under the belief that boat ramps equal an economic impact to a community. And because of that, if there's a possibility to keep that and it serves its function and it can blend, I would strongly suggest keeping it. On the other hand, if it doesn't blend, if it looks like a sore thumb, then I would see discontinuing it. And that would be a valid reason. It's a good trade-off. Your economic driver being the Civic Center for what you lose for the jet skis and kayaks going in.
Off the top of my head, I would think that just operationally, if you're having an event at the existing pavilion, if it remains, and you've got the new Civic Center, are you going to leave the boat ramp open, and are people accessing it while there are events going on? So that's one of the things to consider. But boat ramps are not cheap, and you're not going to just frivolously eliminate one for no particular reason.
I see no other lights lit, but I do want to comment that I like most of the ideas that have been put forth, and it seems to be more going over here than over there. And I also would like to see if it's possible to save the pavilion, because it does get a lot of use now. It's a very comfortable place for people to go. The kitchen's there, certainly, as you pointed out, a big plus. And it's a very relaxed atmosphere, rather. So it works well for a lot of things that go on in the community to have it there. So, any other last words of wisdom? Do you have enough to deal with?
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
have any
That
questions?
actually was very, very helpful. Really helpful.
Do you have any further questions for us?
I do not.
Well, I thank you very much. Then,
Thank
for
you
coming.
all for your input. I appreciate it very much.
Okay, the next item is under new business. Sir?
Sir, attached for the board's review is an application for commercial interior building renovation grant from Christy Mullins to assist in the renovation of the building located at 337 South Washington Avenue in downtown historic commercial district. The building involved is Kloiber's building. The applicant is proposing to renovate the building into a restaurant with the installation of a full kitchen. Building cost estimates were received from two construction companies. The low-cost estimate subcontracting out the roof, the rear windows, the permit, which are not eligible cost, shows the cost of the electrical, plumbing, HVAC, gas, fire suppression, ADA renovations to be $92,018.75. Taking 50% of the low-cost estimate provides a grant for $46,009.38. The total cost of the applicant's proposed renovation, based on the low-cost estimate, is $165,143.75. The project provides a 3.59 to 1 return on the grant investment. The application appears to meet the goals and objective of commercial interior renovation grant program and of the Titusville redevelopment plan by preventing further deterioration of properties within the CRA, stimulating renewed interest in investment in the district, and preserving traditional retail district as the location for covenant pedestrian visitor commercial activities that are compatible with the CRA master plan, and encourages the utilization of existing historical building stock. Staff recommends the approval of the award of commercial interior building renovation grant in the amount of $46,009.30 to Christy Mullins, Roslyn and CC LLC.
Thank you. Okay, any comments or questions? Not seeing any. I'll entertain a... Did you have something? Sure. Well, let me know. Go right ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So remaining fund balance for this, if it was to be approved for the, I guess for the full amount, we did 100,000 to the account.
We do, and we had some carryover from last year as well.
Okay. So that puts us about 50.
Puts us about what, 70?
About 80.
80.
Okay.
We had about 30,000 carryover with 100,000, so it puts us down to about $80,000.
Okay. And then, so by default, I know that we put in place, benchmarks, but by default, for instance, we throw in a hood system, we throw in a new roof, we throw in so on and so on. Place goes belly up, where does the hood system go?
That would stay with the building.
It's part of the renovation.
That's, I'm saying hood systems are removable as such. I can see them go from place to place. So I'm comfortable with there's language that just whatever happens, it stays.
I think we can make that part of the agreement.
Okay.
Anything else? I'll entertain a motion. Somebody to make a motion on the grant in the amount of $46,009.38 to Christy Mullins, Roslyn and Cecily LLC.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
And just for clarity, would you be willing to include that any equipment would be mandated to stay in the building?
Anything hardwired in should stay, correct? So I have no issues with that, but
Okay.
generally when you sell any property, anything
make that-
hardwired stays.
You want to officially make that part of the motion?
Certainly.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor say yes. Yes. Any opposed, like sign. Passes unanimously. Next is, it's time, actually. Come right up. This is petitions and requests.
Hi, Christy Mullins. Just wanted to
hi.
say thank you very much for being considered as part of the grant program. Thanks, Tim, for your help through the process. We look forward to becoming part of the exciting things happening downtown. I have an affinity for old historic buildings and recognize the significance they play in the fabric of the community. So thank you for this opportunity.
Well, welcome to our community, and
I don't know yet. We're shopping. Any suggestions, let me know.
Can we give our orders?
can you what?
Can we give our orders for a
Not
request?
yet. You got to have the hood system up first. As I was saying, welcome to the community, and we certainly wish you well, and get it open as soon as you can, is what I say. Thank you. Executive Director's report.
Yes, sir, no action items, and just an update on capital projects in the downtown. And as a result of the storm, we were behind on several projects, but we'll catch up rapidly.
That's good. All right, anything else for the good of the order?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I just want to inform the CRA. Today I received a letter from our county commissioner, Commissioner Tabaya, definitely I'll share that letter. So the gist of the letter goes something like this. During the years of 2013 to 2016, some expenditures from the CRA were either not legal or misappropriated directly, specifically funding of events in our area. And within that letter, there's a context that he cited the county attorney's opinion. And then further in the letter, there was a statement that differentiated the Titusville CRA in contrast to other CRAs in the area. But in short, the one thing that stuck out was he was pretty firm about how a Veterans Day parade in our CRA is not an appropriate use of money or so forth and so on. And I can't stress enough how I'm furious and disgusted at this attack on our community. I think as a county commissioner, he's doing a disservice not only to himself, the office he holds, and to this board. I further know that we're spending money on a city attorney to research what an attorney general has already said it's okay, completely legal, okay. And I also think it's reprehensible to imply that the former members of this council had misconduct that was either done deliberately or because they were incompetent. I can't stress enough that this is an attack on our community shared by other municipalities, and that I hope is that as leaders in this community that you would consider reaching out to Commissioner Tabaya to reaffirm that what we're doing is both ethical, right, and the betterment for our community, of which he clearly does not understand. So thank you.
In that vein, our city attorney, as apparently you know something about it because you kind of mentioned it, has researched it himself, and he does not agree with the county attorney's assessment because there was an attorney general decision that would indicate that what they are saying is probably not the case. So I think as we get that put together and so forth, we will, I would assume, answer that in a professional manner and let him know that we do not agree with that, and what we did was in coordination with our plan. So what you're asking for, I think, is being done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, I'll declare this meeting adjourned.